welcome to our RECLA Reflections. Today is our podcast day, and my name is Vanessa. I am here in the RECLA Learning Studios to talk with you about Finnish education. And specifically today, we're going to be talking about assessment and trying to create assessment without anxiety. So one of the strategies that I find to be helpful with teachers is using choice boards. If you aren't familiar with a choice board is something you can use pretty much anytime you want. It gives students agency and autonomy in the classroom. You can use it for assessments, you can use it for presentations, you can use it for pretty much anything you want, and you can maintain control of what the students are learning without taking away their autonomy, because you get to choose what goes on the choice boards, and then the students choose from those choices. So it's a great middle ground for teachers to maintain a little bit of control while students gain some agency in the classroom. So let's get started with something that most teachers probably recognize. Assessment rarely causes anxiety because students don't want to learn. It causes anxiety because students don't know how they'll be judged, when the judgment is going to come, or whether they're already behind before they've had time to think. And if we're honest, assessment creates anxiety for teachers too, right? Because it often feels like we're collecting work without really seeing learning. It just becomes a mode for traditional assessment. So today I want to talk about choice boards, not as a trendy strategy, but as a Finnish-inspired way to make assessment calmer, clearer, and more visible for learning, gaining artifacts. And most importantly, I'll walk you through 2 classroom-ready choice boards you can use immediately. If you've been following some of my other posts on Facebook or YouTube or on my website, www.reclalearningstudios.com, you will find this whole week has been about choice boards and assessment. So if you like the practical application that I share with you here in our podcast, jump over to the website and grab a few more ideas from my other postings. So in Finnish-inspired classrooms, assessment is not something that happens after learning. It's a continuous assessment process. Teachers are facilitators as opposed to lecturers, and they observe and watch and listen and learn from the students. It's a co-learning environment. So it's something that happens during the lesson, this assessment, and these choice boards. So choice boards are supportive because they remove the pressure of one right way, right? And it gives students time and space to think, and it allows understanding to surface gradually. When students have choice in how they show learning, anxiety will drop. Not because expectations are lowered, because I'm not asking for less assessment. I'm just asking to shift our mindset a little bit and make the assessment visible, as opposed to filling out a worksheet or a quiz or an exam on the material. This way, learning is visible, not hidden. So let's take a look at a practical application. We're going to call this one Show What You Understand. No writing is required, so if you are a low resource environment, no worries. We don't need paper and pencil. This board is especially powerful when students are early in their learning. So this is an assessment, a choice board that you can use at the beginning of a lesson. You want to assess understanding without formal writing. And if students feel stuck or hesitant, if they're just not quite grabbing what it is you are trying to teach them. And the only way really you're going to know that is through observation. So hopefully you are transitioning from the traditional setting into a more Finnish way of teaching. And so observation is a normal part of your day. All right, so let's look at some options for showing what you understand. Number one, we can do concept sorting. Students sort provided ideas, images, examples, statements into categories, right? This fits any concept and you can use it in any subject. So the three categories are, yes, this aligns with what I'm learning or what the concept is or the topic or the subject. Two, it sort of fits. And three, it does not fit, right? So the students will explain one choice verbally, or you can make it a writing activity. But the idea here is to move away from writing. So whatever you're teaching, whatever your subject is, you can grab some ideas from it if it's like grammar based. For example, so let me just do a grammar example. Let's say we're learning nouns. All right. So you can have 10 or 15 different words, or you can have 10 or 15 different images if your students aren't reading yet. And then you're going to have them look at those images or those words and decide, does this fit the concept? Is this a noun? Yes or no? So then you would divide it that way. Does it partially fit a noun? So this one's a little tricky, right? Because there are some words in our language that are read the same way, but they aren't always used as nouns. So it partially fits or it does not fit, where you could use a verb like an action word, right? So this is concept sorting. The second option is build the idea. So using blocks, paper pieces, objects, materials from outside, right? You could go outside and do this activity. Students build a physical or visual model of the concept and explain what each part represents. So it's their own ideas. It's their own materials. You can have a splattering of ideas, of materials there for them to choose from. And then they need to build something that represents the concept that you are teaching them. The third example is to explain to an imaginary learner. So students record or rehearse a short explanation as if teaching someone new. And you can do this with a recorder where they're doing it on their own, or you can do peer conversation. So it doesn't have to be an imaginary learner. If someone doesn't understand this yet, here's how I'd explain it, right? That's how they start their conversation. So from a teaching perspective, you are assessing conceptual clarity. You're not really at this point looking at language skills or speed. You're just trying to see who's grasping this concept. If there's misconceptions that surface naturally, then you can do some correction without any embarrassment or formal time with a worksheet. So this assessment is without pressure. In this, notice something important here. None of these options ask students to prove learning. What we're doing is we're trying to get the students to think about the process, to make sense of what they're learning. And that is a distinction in everything that we're doing today. So our second practical application choice board is called Learning Over Time. And this one is really great for portfolios. So this board works beautifully at the end of a lesson, at the end of a week, at the end of a mini unit, and it creates a portfolio artifact. So students will choose one of these three options. A then-now reflection. So students respond to, at first I thought, blah, blah, blah. Now I think, blah, blah, blah. And they can write it, they can draw it, they can do an oral recording, whatever suits your context. Second, we have one called One Example, One Insight. So here students choose one piece of work that they've been doing. So hopefully, like I said, if you're in a Finnish classroom where you're using stations for learning, you'll have a variety of artifacts that the students can choose from already. So they would choose a piece of work or an artifact, and they would answer, this shows my learning because blah, blah, blah. It's just one sentence, very simple, and they can just put it in their portfolio when they're done. The third option is called a lingering question. Students write or record one question they still have and explain why it matters, right? So again, you're looking from a teacher's perspective, you're going to be looking for assessing growth, metacognition, how much they're really grasping, and how confident they are. We're not really looking for completion. We're not looking for perfection here. We're just looking for learning and the process that has been happening. This kind of evidence tells you far more than a fill-in-the-blank multiple choice quiz ever will. In Finnish pedagogy, assessment is about listening, right? That's what I keep talking about in all of my posts. We're not looking for worksheets. We're not looking for fill-in-the-blanks. We're not looking for memorized repetition. We're looking for assessment, deep understanding of the concept. So as a teacher, you're listening for how students explain, how they connect ideas, and how their thinking changes over time. These choice boards help us to listen without stress, without pressure, and without comparison. They will make learning visible without making students anxious. So if assessment has felt heavy lately, here's a reminder I want to leave with you. You don't need more tools. You don't need more worksheets. You don't need more materials if you're in a low resource school. What you need is more trust in the learning process. One choice board used intentionally can change the emotional climate of your classroom. And calmer classrooms lead to deeper learning. I hope this helps. I hope you have some great ideas that you can take from this podcast. And like I said earlier, if you like these ideas and you want more ideas that you can use in your classroom, jump over to www.reclalearningstudios.com. There's all kinds of posts and materials in the store that you can use to support continuous assessment and choice boards. Thanks for listening.